someone to scroll. What's up, you guys? It's Valitelli here, and welcome back to Let's Catch a Vibe. Now, I hope everyone's feeling great, feeling amazing, feeling vibey. As you guys can see, this is my Secret Invasion episode 4 review. This one is titled Beloved. Now, start us off at the beginning of this episode. We do pick up where we left off with pretty much Gaia lying in the middle of the forest. Now, we do get a bit of a flashback. Just before Gaia left the rebel base, she actually downloaded the memories of somebody, and after that she went in and pretty much injected herself in the machine with Extremis. So Gaia has Extremis, so we're pretty much probably gonna get somebody that can go up against Gravik, maybe, because we don't know what else she put inside her body. So moving us away from that, obviously we cut to the opening credits. We get a bit of a scene where we get a flashback to 2020, which is very cool to see, because we pretty much get a conversation with Nick, obviously talking to his wife. This pretty much is a reference as well to the 2020 Avengers film, because we get a part in the conversation where his wife looks at a newspaper clipping and it actually says L'Avengers. So obviously, whether this is a couple of months, whether this is just recently after the attack on New York, we don't know, but I'm absolutely stoked to see this. But anyway, pretty much we get a back and forth between Nick and his wife. I'm really, really loving the wife character at the moment, even though there is something in this episode that we do find out. But I'm loving the chemistry between Nick and his wife, because this is something that we don't know about Nick Fury. All we know about him is that, he's Nick Fury, he gives the orders, and he gives good speeches and stuff like that. But it's nice to know some of the characters' backstory and stuff. So, moving away from this, however, we get a scene between Rhodey and Nick Fury's wife. Now, they are in a church, and we pretty much find out the revelation that the wife says, Nick was fired the other day. He says, oh, really? Yeah, that was me. So, obviously, the wife finds out that Rhodey fired Nick. We also find out that the wife has been there from day one trying to learn what Nick liked, right? And pretty much trying to get him to fall in love with that. Because we find out that Rhodey's the one that says, listen, now you have that gun, you got to take him out. Stop telling me what you're not going to do. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And I was like, what? This is sick. So I like the kind of like espionage bit of it. I absolutely love it. So, moving us away from this scene, I forgot to mention, by the way, I am literally looking at the screen. So if I'm looking over here, I'm not my attention's not wandering or something like that. So we also do get Nick Fury's listening in on this conversation now. So now he actually knows that what his wife, which he kind of suspected, was doing. So pretty much we get Nick listening on the conversation. We get a scene where Gravik comes off a plane. We get when Gravik comes off a plane. Pretty much his whole thing in this episode is he's got his men to dress up like the Russians, because he pretty much wants to get the Russians into trouble. He wants, obviously, the humans to start fighting each other. So he's going to, after what happened in Russia recently with the bombings, yeah, he's going to try and get Russia and the UK to pretty much fight each other. So he gets a bit of a conversation. Obviously, he tells the men that, listen, Gaia was the mole, so that's why she's not with us, if you guys are asking. We do get a bit of interesting conversation between Gaia and her father, Talos. And pretty much Talos is saying to her, listen, I'm sorry about what happened. She says, listen, I don't want your sympathy. What's happened's happened. I want to know if you've got a plan. Have you got a plan to get us a new planet? Now, I really liked what Talos said. And he was saying, listen, we have to be showing the humans that we can be trusted and that we are good guests. Because obviously we're the guests on the human planet. And I love the speech that he gives Gaia. And Gaia's kind of like, well, that's not what I'm about. Like, you haven't really given me a definitive answer. Because Gravik is giving people the planet. But what are you doing to give us a new home? I really, really love that kind of chemistry between Gaia and her father, Talos. There is a bit more that goes on in that conversation, but Talos pretty much says to Gaia, like, if we keep showing the humans that we're good and we can help, maybe they'll let us stay. Now, moving away from this, we do get an interesting conversation with Nick and his wife. And Nick is like, listen, how long? How long have you pretty much been trying to kill me, essentially? Because I know someone gave me that gun to kill me. And we get an interesting conversation how the wife actually got her disguise. We find out that she was pretty much talking to somebody that was a doctor that pretty much had like a heart defect and stuff, and she didn't want to tell her family. So obviously Nick's wife gets closer to her and she makes her 3 promises. I think the first one was bury her at sea. The second one was continue being like a loving daughter to the parents. And the third one was not to break Nick's heart or don't hurt Nick. So obviously we find out that that one failed. We do get a really interesting shot where they both put their guns out on the table and then you hear so you think, shit, is Nick dead? Is the wife dead? And they both shot each other. But obviously we find out that they've been together too long, they're not going to kill each other. One hits one side of the wall, one hits another side of the wall, and Nick says, I don't know whether we're supposed to get divorced or we're meant to renew our vows. So, moving away from this, guys, we do move on to a scene where we actually see that Rhodey is a Skrull, being played by a female Skrull, by the way. And then we get an interesting scene between Nick Fury and I'm just going to call him Skrull Rhodes. So Skrull Rhodes is talking to Nick. They have a bit of a back and forth. And Nick's trying to say to Rhodey, like, yo, listen, give me my job back, basically, because I know there's a mole that's close to the president. And Rhodey pretty much turns around and says, listen, this footage is you shooting Maria Hill. I know it's a Skrull. You know it's a Skrull. But are they going to believe you at your trial? I don't think so. And obviously, if that came out, they'd be like, okay, well, why did Nick Fury shoot one of his own officers? They're going to think he's just crazy talking about Skrulls being in the Oval Office and stuff like that. So, moving away from this scene, we move to the big battle scene. Now, pretty much, during that scene, there is Nick Fury talking to Rhodes, and they do share, like, this bourbon drink, and obviously all this time there is a bit of a joke going around. He's like, oh, shall I throw this drink away and get myself another one? He's like, hey, you do what you want. You know what I mean? You do what you want. And we find out that Nick Fury put a liquidized tracker in Rhodey's drink. So, we go to the big climax of the episode. Pretty much, Gravik is going to he's essentially trying to kill the president, essentially. Because obviously he knows that'll spark a big catastrophe. Because obviously if they're all dressed as Russians attacking the president, you know what I mean? You know Russia and the UK are going to war pretty much. Well, obviously America's going to war. So, we get the president, land in the UK. We get a bit of a funny joke where the president's like, says to Rhodey, did you drink whiskey before you came here? Like, get this man a large coffee. And obviously, obviously, Rhodes being a Skrull doesn't understand that, because obviously Skrulls don't get drunk, do they? So obviously, he's just like, get this guy a mint or get this guy a large coffee. So anyway, come back to the climax of the battle. We get Gravik pretty much attack the president's convoy. Obviously, Nick hears about it. Nick shows up. We get an interesting fight scene where we do see Gravik's abilities. He has the Groot, like, stretch ability. Obviously, Mr. Fantastic, we spoke about this in the previous episode, or the episode before that. He does have the Extremis, because Nick Fury pretty much shoots Gravik in the face. Not before Gravik kills Talos, or what we think he's done. He's killed Talos. There is a scene in here where Talos is trying to bash open a window to get to the president, and one of the officers actually says, "There's an alien." Now, I was really shocked about this, but obviously we find out it gets scrapped afterwards. But I was really happy about that scene, because we do get a scene where if that was anybody else, they would literally just start firing, but Nick Fury says, no, he's with me. So the guy turns around and carries on, the soldier does. But later on, we get the soldier pick up Talos when he gets wounded and carry him off. But then obviously we find out Nick shoots him and says, put him down. Boom, that was Gravik, and then he stabs Talos. Oh, man. Yo, I liked this because this was an action scene that we haven't got since the first episode. But guys, we don't know whether Talos is dead. Now, this episode was a bit disappointing in the end because we get 4 minutes of end credits. This episode is only 37 minutes long. But this was a badass episode. This was a good episode. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here, guys. If you guys like this video, don't forget to smash the like button. If you didn't enjoy the video, let me know in the comments down below why you didn't like the video. Again, be respectful of people that haven't seen this episode. I know it only came out today. But anyway, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new and join Team Let's Catch a Vibe. Also, if you are new, please don't forget to switch on the bell notifications to get notified as soon as I upload. But more importantly, don't forget to stay vibey, and we'll find out who's the Skrull next. Peace!